When did a grudge you held turn into one of your biggest regrets? My lonely old neighbor made it his life's mission to be as evil as possible. One time on my birthday, he ordered 300 live ladybugs to my front door, and I only discovered what was inside when they started flying around my apartment. And at least 2 nights a week, he would blast his news channel volume from midnight all the way to morning. And thanks to his home speakers, this was impossible to sleep through. So you guys are probably wondering where the story goes from here. I'll tell you right now, I never got revenge. I never even gave him as much as a dirty look. And you may say, but Ope, he is a douchebag. We want to see him suffer. And trust me, at one point I did too. But after months of being his neighbor, I noticed something. He was always home and never had any visitors. Like, ever. I watched him spend Thanksgiving, Christmas, and even New Year's Day alone in his apartment. And whenever I saw him open his mail, it was either junk mail or bills. And to top it all off, his skin was completely white because he hardly ever went outside, probably because he had no one to meet up with. So even when he purposely blocked my car and forced me to get an Uber to work or cranked up the temperature of our shared heating system, I honestly just felt bad for him. But then one day, I finally snapped. I had just run into him at our local store, and I expected him to be his insufferable geriatric self, but instead, he acted like a beacon of light. He was tidying up the shelves, sweeping the floors, and even tipped the shopkeeper $15. Well, I wanted nothing more than to figure out what was going on, but after that, his shenanigans completely stopped, and after a few weeks, I found out why. One day, I opened my mailbox to a package addressed to me from the old man next door, and suddenly, everything made sense, because inside was a letter and an old photograph of his son. You see, the old man's family was killed on the hijacked plane during 9/11, and because I looked exactly like his son, the resemblance was too much for him to handle. So to avoid building any connection with me, he did everything he could to burn our bridge. This made my heart shatter, but when I went to knock on his door, there was no answer. I never heard from him again until 2 days later, when I found out he had passed away in his sleep. Me and his sister were the only ones to turn up at the funeral, and I still visit his gravestone once a week.